Hey everyone, Soberoni of G&A Reviews here with a servant spotlight for the nerfed Demon King herself, Oda Nobunaga. We'll be examining her stats and skills, as well as going over pointers on how to utilize her effectively, and an overall grade comparing her to the other 4-star servants. I also have another spotlight video up today for the other new Guda Guda servant, Okita, so please be sure to check that out right after you finish this video, but for now, let's move on to Nobu's stats. Nobu's max HP of 11,637 is above average for a 4-star archer and above average in general among all 4-star servants. As well, her max attack of 9,494 is also above average among 4-star archers and among all 4 stars in general. Her stats are actually quite strong and she doesn't have any obvious weaknesses in HP or attack. Moving on to her skills. Her first skill is Strategy Rank B, which increases the Noble Phantasm gain of all allies between 20 to 30% for 3 turns, depending on level. Her second skill is Tenkafubu Rank A, which increases damage against all divine enemies for 1 turn between 50 to 100%, depending on level. And finally, her last skill is Demon King Rank A, which increases her crit star gather rate for 3 turns between 300 to 600%, and increases her crit strength for 3 turns between 20 to 50%, both depending on level. Her class skills are Magic Resistance Rank B, which increases debuff resist by 17.5%, and Independent Action Rank B, which increases her crit strength by 8%. As for her deck in Noble Phantasm, Nobu has a balanced deck of Quick Arts Buster Buster with a Buster Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm is 3,000 worlds. It deals heavy damage to all enemies, and deals bonus damage to enemies with riding, depending on overcharge. Taking a closer look at her cards, her Quick card hits for 2 hits, her Arch card has 4 hits, her Buster card has 4 hits, and her Extra Attack has 5 hits. Her Noble Phantasm gain is only 0.43%, and her star rate is 7.9%. She does have decent star generation thanks to the high amount of hits on all her cards, but her Noble Phantasm gain is really subpar due to the really low 0.43% rate. Not even a month has passed and here we are with our second welfare servant, and much like Caster Liz, Nobu is an offensive buster servant that excels at farming. But unlike Caster Liz, she does have a lot more going for her on top of that. Strategy is a good skill that shouldn't be overlooked. It provides the whole team with a 30% increase in Noble Phantasm gain, which is fantastic. For reference, Ushi's Tengu strategy only provides a 20% Noble Phantasm gain boost to the team, and there's only one servant besides Nobu who has such a strong team-wide Noble Phantasm gain buff, and she won't be out for a while. Strategy is not Nobu's best skill, but it does give her a nice support option, and it can make up a bit for her own lackluster Noble Phantasm gain. Her next 2 skills, Tenkafubu and Demon King, are top tier however. Tenkafubu provides a massive damage buff against divine enemies, and this works pretty much exactly like Orion's anti-male skill. There may not be as many divine enemies as male enemies, but there are a few and they are notable. Altera, Gil, Uriel, Herc, Kentoki, and Tamamo are all divine servants, and that's just to name some of them. There are many more. Finally, her Demon King skill is just one of the best crit skills in the game. Having both increased crit star gather rate and crit damage for 3 turns in one skill is a killer combo, and it's kind of rare. Usually these effects are attached to separate skills like we see with Anne and Bonnie, and only usually last for a single turn. So having one skill with both of these effects last for 3 turns is really strong, and the fact that it has a 5-turn cooldown at max level means you can really take advantage of this skill for most of the battles. Because all 3 of her skills are pretty strong, it's really hard to advise on which one to focus, but you should probably prioritize Demon King if you plan on using her as your main attacker or on any kind of crit based team. Then you can go with Tenkafubu, since while the damage buff is pretty huge, it's still pretty situational. And then level Strategy last, since even at level 1, it's still a pretty strong skill, and it doesn't have as much a return on investment as the other 2 skills. Nobu's strongest point is her skills, but her Noble Phantasm is also worth taking note of. Despite being AoE, it can actually pack a significant punch. Both because it can be used in a Buster Brave chain, and more importantly, because it has an overcharge bonus against riding. Do not overlook this overcharge effect. It's actually one of the better overcharges in the game because it's not a bonus against riders, it's a bonus against anyone who has the passive skill riding. This not only includes the vast majority of riders, but also the vast majority of sabers, since nearly every saber has that skill. As an archer, Nobu already deals increased damage to sabers, so this extra damage is just yet another strong buff on top of the extra damage she gets from being an archer against sabers, making her an excellent saber killer. So don't hesitate to take her up against bosses, since she does pack that little bit of extra punch against sabers. Also, it may be worth knowing, especially given how common of a boss she is, Altera is a saber with riding and divinity, meaning Nobu absolutely destroys her. So do bring Nobu anytime you have to face Altera. It isn't all sunshine and rainbows with Nobu though. For one thing, despite being a crit archer, she cannot generate enough crit stars to maintain herself, primarily because she only has one quick card. So she does need someone to feed her, and if she doesn't have that person there, then her third skill kind of goes from being really high tier to just being useless, because you won't be able to generate crit stars consistently enough on your own. And while she is one of the best archers to use for farming, there are way better 4-star archers to use for boss killing, and arguably better crit archers as well, one of them being another welfare servant. So Nobu works best in crit teams. As such, pairing her with anyone who can produce stars is good. So Atlanta, Gil, Cursed Arm Hassan, Okita, or even Drake. And servants like Waver and Hans who can buff an ally's crit damage are also fantastic with her. If you want to use her as your main attacker, then supporting her with the aforementioned Hans and Waver works well as with Caesar, David, Lancer Liz, or even Shakespeare. As for her craft essence, her bond craft essence is Revolving Matchlock. It increases the crit damage of all allies on the field by 25%. This is the same as Okita's bond craft essence, and it works phenomenally on Nobu since it elevates her crit damage up to 75% when paired with her Demon King skill. I do want to point out that Okita and Nobu actually make for a perfect team with each other, as Okita can produce the stars that Nobu needs, and if they both have their craft essence attached, Nobu's going to be doing 100% bonus crit damage. Aside from that, you can also use Gem Magecraft, Moonlight Fest, or even the new Gudao craft essence to increase her crit damage. Limited Zero is also an option if you want to just dish out as much damage as possible and maybe don't have the crit generators necessary for her. And if you want to use her for farming, then go with the standard Halloween Princess or Kaleidoscope. If you have her on your support list, I really recommend Kaleidoscope since most people will probably use her for farming, and the Saber Daily is just ridiculously easy when you have two Nobus on your team. It just makes Saber Training Grounds a joke. Overall, Nobu's a great servant and a step up from Liz. If you don't already have a gold archer, she will fill that role of damage dealer perfectly. Her farming capabilities are top notch, and a really strong skill lineup in Noble Phantasm makes her a very effective Saber and Divine Servant killer, as well as just generally a strong crit archer. Her only major flaws are a lack of crit star generation and very stiff competition from within the archer class that provides a lot of archers that can do her job a little bit better in most cases. It's hard for me to rate Nobu because she does so much so well, but she still lacks in certain areas compared to other 4-star archers. But overall, I think that a B+ rating is fair. She's definitely an above average 4-star as her stats indicate, and even with her faults, she can get the job done. Plus, she gets points for just being pretty versatile. Her biggest problem is just being in a class that is flooded with strong servants that can really overshadow her. And those are my thoughts on Nobu. Personally, I am excited to see her in Guda Guda since she is one of my favorite Type Moon girls. But what do you guys think? Are you looking forward to Nobu? Are you planning on grailing her? Let me know in the comments. And please do check out the Okita Spotlight, also up on the channel today. Link is in the description. And don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video. and consider subscribing if you really enjoyed the video. And I will see you all at Gouda Gouda. Later.